broadcast, and it says we are now live, so we should be on.
I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying that if you pretend it's a charity and you keep the money, that there's something wrong with that. I don't understand why you would want to. There's something wrong with that. I don't. Why you'd want to go that way. When are we going live, by the way?
I hate you.
What?
One of these days, somebody's going to take you seriously on that. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Thomas does, and he put that. Welcome, Thomas. Thomas is first in the chat as usual, and wants you to come on to our Friday Night Jeopardy one of these times. And we were talking about maybe making a special Lore Reloaded Jeopardy board where every answer on Jeopardy is something that you've gotten wrong, like in your videos.
That sounds like something I definitely want to do right there.
Like transwarp, great transwarp moments.
Doesn't feel demeaning at all.
No, it would be awesome.
Yeah, the last.
I see April. Your sock account April is here.
That's true.
Nice to meet you, April.
I more think of her as a cozy.
Wow, April, run while you can, April. Indy's here, Sirstris is here. Good to see you. So we got a couple of things to talk about. There's a new Trek show.
Prodigy?
Yeah. So first, did you watch it?
I watched most of it. By the way, while we're talking about that, I want to say, I want to. So I came on one of your live shows to discuss it, and I started getting. Well, I didn't start getting. So basically, cowards, which is what you expect from that kind of audience, from Fandom Menace, went on Twitter and started talking crap about me after I went on your show and related something I specifically said on your show.
Really?
Yes. So I want to give a shout out to the cowards of the Fandom Menace in your chat who watch you. You can unblock me and talk to me about it next time if you want to, but that's okay.
So someone from the Fandom Menace actually quoted you from my live stream on Twitter.
Quoted me wrong too, because we had talked about it before, and I had my statement, as far as I remember, was that they could be doing like a Clone Wars thing, that it's appealing to kids. That's why there's more action to it, and maybe it'll get adult as it goes through the seasons. And they said that I was relating it directly to Clone Wars, which I was not. I was saying it was like maybe what they were trying to do. Anyway, it was just interesting because I only said it on your channel. That's how I knew it got related back to you. I had not talked about it before.
Interesting.
Then. You have a wider influence.
Well, there you go. I still have influence in the Fandom Menace. Not very much, though, I'm pretty sure. But welcome, my Fandom Menace friends. Just don't stop picking on Lore. He's a sensitive guy.
I am a single dad trying to.
Just call him Lore. I'm gonna get you a nice T-shirt that says Mr. Snowflake on it. And we'll do that. And Jordan says, hey, both, good night to stream. Just watched Lore Search for Spock rewrite, and like half an hour of overtime was him on the floor laughing.
What? Just watched my rewrite
of Search for Spock? Did you do a rewrite of Search for Spock?
Oh, that was a long time. That had to be months ago when it was me, Jesse Gender, and Lore Runner, I think.
Okay.
Because we're doing a complete rewrite of the entire series or whatever. So yeah. Speaking of that, you need to come on and do that with us sometime. That'd be fun. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was fine for what it was. I think it was meant for kids, and it.
I do think it
appealed to kids.
I do think it felt a little too Star Warsy,
right?
And I think that, and I know we talked about it quite a bit on the other stream, so we're not going to get into too much detail here. Other than it was a good show, but it was really a good Star Wars kids show, and my real concern is, okay, you get kids interested in Star Trek, but then what are they supposed to watch?
Well, and what I'm going to tell you is the same thing that we had, the same conversation we had beforehand, right? Which was the most Trek now is Star Warsy. You know what I'm saying? So like you look at Discovery or Picard, I think even Strange New Worlds is going to be probably somewhat Star Warsy.
Yeah.
So
Basically everything but
for
Lower Decks at this point.
yeah, and even Lower Decks I think has more action and more fighting generally than what Trek before was. So
Mhm.
I think that it's attempting to appeal to kids with the current Trek that they're doing to get them into that, if I had to guess.
But more action is one thing, but it just having everybody be a weird alien, having just the just I mean, they're the only human in the cast was Janeway, and she's a hologram.
And female. Let's
Well,
not
I
forget.
don't care about the fact that she's female. I'm just
Unless we're in other shows where it matters that there's only one male in the cast,
no,
one
no,
male
no, no, no.
representing in the cast.
I've said before that number one, you do need to for the show to really resonate. One of my favorite words. And I agree, Mr. Captain, that the person who quoted you on Twitter was probably a Kurogan spy. That is almost certainly true. But the wow, it's so lore breaking. I'm
Yeah,
not.
but don't.
That's
I guess they're talking about it being Star Warsy.
yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah, it took me a minute. Um, anyway, it just to make the show resonate with kids and adults long term. I think you need more humans. I do think you need to have I don't know that people are going to want to watch a rock monster and a blob and an energy being in a compressed metal suit. I just don't know that that's going to be an interesting group of characters for people to watch. Now, I could be wrong, and who knows? Maybe it'll be the biggest hit ever. But
Well,
to me, that's just not a particularly interesting cast of characters.
well, as long as you anthropomorphize them, I think you'll be fine. Because there are series that don't have humans like at all, like My
Right.
Little Pony or Care Bears or things like that. Where
Right. Stuff you like, yeah.
yeah, exactly, stuff that I love. And I reiterate on my 100K channel. Um, so I think that if they anthropomorphize them, that it can work. But I agree, which is why I don't think that a Klingon like a Klingon series or an Andorian series or whatever would work because they're not human. You'd have to make them act human, and they stop being Klingons at that point.
Right.
So it could work, but if they just have to again continue to have them have human qualities, which is basically what they are right now.
Don't worry,
Uh,
Thomas. We'll get into the Prime Directive in a little bit.
I think they have some quirks, but for the most part, I think you can relate to them
Hmm.
on a human level, you know?
Well, I hope so. I just hope the show feels a little more like Star Trek once we get full episodes that take place on the ship.
Sure.
You know.
Uh, Number of subscribers does not equate to quality of a product. Neither does me liking My Little Pony or Care Bears or whatever. We were insulting each other, Brainy, but I understand. I get it. If you need me to let you in on the joke again, just let me know, buddy.
It's
Why
okay
do people fight with me?
because you're just such a
All I want to do is be loved.
well. If you want to be loved, well, never mind.
No, say it. Come on, let's do it. Let's go.
No. I'm not gonna go
That's
there.
why. What was it about?
Huh?
What was it about? Can I have a hint?
No. And April says she fights with you all the time. Is that true?
Because it's true.
So what do you and April fight about? Tell us your
What
deepest,
what
darkest.
what
What
don't
was
we fight
what
about?
was the last thing you fought with her about?
She doesn't understand definitions of words. I'll say that. So let me ask you this.
Wow,
Let's
really?
do this live.
Okay.
When someone says nuclear family, what do you think? How would you define nuclear family?
How
What's a
would,
nuclear family?
well, nuclear family to me is as my understanding it has been mother, father, kids, your classic family unit.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
We had an argument over the definition of nuclear family. That's why I say that's what we did.
Okay.
We had a well, it was an argument, just a disagreement on what nuclear family means.
Okay. What did she think a nuclear family was? A family with a nuclear weapon?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nuclear arms. Thought Trump was a nuclear family man. No,
remember, you can't hug your children with nuclear arms. Oh man, I hated that slogan back in the 80s. All right.
Oh, was that a slogan?
That was a slogan back in the 80s, anti-nuclear proliferation slogan. Oh, I hated it.
I thought that was I thought that was
back when Star Trek 4 was joke. No, that was back when Star Trek 4 was coming out, and Save the Whales was a big thing, yeah.
Oh. So in Family Guy, death, like literally death, and she says you can't hug nuclear arms, and so he touches her and she dies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a real thing.
Hey, it looks like it might just be my side, but it looks like it's, oh yeah, it was just my side. I thought the stream went down. Looks like the stream may be going down. Is that on me?
Yeah, it's like the algorithm doesn't like us talking about nuclear families.
It's like, oh god, shut him down, demonetize, ban. Both of our channels get banned.
Banned forever. Great. Thanks, Lore.
But yeah, man, that was weird that it went down. But anyway.
So she, what did she think a nuclear family was?
Well, I don't want to say who. One of us thought that it was your definition, and one of us thought that it just meant a 2 adults and kids.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it didn't have to be a man and a woman. It could be a woman and a woman, a man and a man, whatever.
Gotcha.
So
the more liberal interpretation.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know that's liberal. I'd say that's my thing. It's like I don't know anyone who, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get who was on who. I'm just saying, I think it's obvious which answer it should be. And I didn't know there was another definition to it.
Let me see. But can you hug your children with nuclear arms?
That's true. I'm going to say that all the time now.
That you're going to run around hugging your children with nuclear arms?
I am. That I can't do it.
You know what you should do? You should get like big tattoos of nuclear bombs on your biceps, and that way you can run around and hug your kids with nuclear arms.
You want to do it together? We could go in together and do it.
No, because I don't have little kids anymore.
Oh, but you could hug your big kids.
Yeah, but it'd be more fun for you to do it because you still have little kids.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll do that.
Yeah. And when you get the tattoo, do it live on a live stream.
Oh, I'm a pansy.
I know
it's a good way to make money, though. I would scream and cry.
I'll tell you.
Seems like that's
all you got to do. And partner, find a tattoo artist that's willing to take a day to do this, because all you got to do is say, okay, so for $5, he spends 1 second putting the needle to my arm, right? Because it's going to take like hours to do this, right? And so $5, 1 second, and you're going to be like screaming and crying and everything, and then everybody's going to be plunking down their $5 for that. You split the money with the tattoo artist, bam, you both retire.
Love it. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah,
I like your thinking. We need a Star Trek series. The entire cast are Borg. It'll be about their adventures on a Borg tactical cube. I wonder how boring that would be.
Mike, it would be exactly like the ending of the episode 3 Ships of Lower Decks.
It would be.
Yeah. They'd just be standing there staring at each other.
Let's see. Isn't this about the time that I do a 24-hour?
Are you gonna? Yeah. Are you still doing extra lives?
I don't know that I'm gonna do that this year. I know before we went live, we were talking about you doing one, which I'm excited for, and I hope you do.
Wait, we were?
Yeah. Remember we were talking about, you were thinking about doing a charity stream.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Steal all the money.
No, that was you saying that you were going to do
No, I was saying you were going to do that. I didn't say I was going to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I got a lot of stuff going on this year. I want to get back into it at some point. Next year for sure. But it just depends on how things go, because I got a lot of events in the next 2 months. But those were fun. I enjoyed doing them.
Yeah, once we get moved, I plan on doing stuff like that. But yeah, because right now all my spare time. Like, I have not been doing a lot of live streams lately, mainly because we've been so focused on trying to figure out where we're going to move and the logistics of it and all that. I mean, because, yeah, and figure out how we're going to get rid of all the excessive junk that we have.
Right.
You know, because boy, you don't realize how much junk you have until you realize how much you're going to have to get rid of to move. But I mean, for me personally, I've decided, you know, for my stuff, I'm going to commit to basically everything that I will keep will fit in one room. You know, so
Right.
if I can't get it into the room I'm in right now, it goes. Period. You know, and so that's going to be hard to do. But you know, the only basically collectible thing that I, you know, will be like my comic books. But you know, miscellaneous random junk, it's going to have to go. I don't
Right.
know. But anyway, um, no, I am definitely not moving to Portland, Mr. Captain. Boy, I could talk about Portland right now. Lord knows I was talking to him about Portland before we started the stream.
One of the meccas of America when you think about it.
Oh, man. Portland makes California look like humans. But
Funny because it's true.
so let's talk about the Prime Directive for a minute. Well, actually, before we get to the Prime Directive, did you see the Book of Fett trailer? Or the Book of Boba Fett now? Originally, I thought it was called the Book of Fett, but now it's called the Book of Boba Fett. And no, I'm not getting rid of my ships.
No, I haven't. Did they name the ship?
No,
I've never been a huge. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
no, they did not. They show the ship, but they do not mention the name of it.
Boba Fett has never really been an interesting concept to me.
Right.
That spider looks CGI as hell. That does not look real in the slightest. I don't know. Again, Boba Fett just hasn't really been all that interesting to me. So the stuff with him is, eh. Is it? Are you excited about it?
Honestly, not really. But here's my problem with it. I'm expecting it to be a high quality show because I really enjoyed The Mandalorian. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it's on par with it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Did you enjoy The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I didn't watch all of it. I'll be honest with you,
Okay.
but what I did watch, I did enjoy.
I really liked The Mandalorian from beginning to end. I could rewatch both seasons, and I probably will before Book of Fett comes out. But The Mandalorian is not the same character as Boba Fett. The Mandalorian is a heroic character. Boba Fett is a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to, and I know I hate saying this. I said this the other day on a live stream because I don't want to sound like the typical fandom menace. Oh, Disney crap, because it's not. This isn't Disney doing it. This is Lucasfilm's creative choice, even if it does fall into the same pattern of something that Disney has done with other characters, and that is taking a villain and trying to make them into a hero. Like they've done with Maleficent, and they've done it with Corilla, and now they're doing it with Boba Fett, where Boba Fett is now going to be the gangster with a heart of gold, right? And so in the trailer they show, now you may know this if you well, I don't know if you saw the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, but Boba Fett is basically taking over Jabba the Hutt's old operation. Since Luke killed Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett's taking over.
Okay.
So he's just literally taking over Jabba's old palace, same spot, and basically saying, yep, well, he's out, so I'm in. And in there, they show him saying, okay, you know what? Jabba ruled with fear. I'm going to rule with respect. And then,
okay.
And then one of the criminals was saying, well, what if we don't agree with everything that you're doing here? Because, you know, under Jabba, we could have done this or this or this. And Boba's assistant said, you know, Jabba would have simply disintegrated you on the spot for saying something like that. And Boba said, let's talk. And so it's like, oh, so Boba is the nice gangster. He's going to be the ruler of the underworld, who's nice and just and now he's going to go, fix some injustice in the underworld. That basically, these horrible Republic, do-gooders are overtaxing whoever, and we got to deal with her. Whatever, it's going to be something stupid like that, and I just don't like the fact that they're basically just trying to make him out to be a good guy, because he's not a good guy.
Right. Well, that's the antithesis of Tatooine. There has never been a thing in Tatooine where someone who wants to do something honorable would ever.
Mm-hmm.
They might as well do Nar Shaddaa if they're going to do stuff like that. Nar Shaddaa, they wouldn't do that either. It's stupid. By the way, you can't spell injustice without justice.
Well, that's true, Johnny. But that doesn't change the fact that it's wrong. And hey, Shadow, how you doing? So it's to me, it's the problem is that I get why they're doing it, because if they simply made Boba Fett the ruthless thug that he is, I wouldn't want to watch the show that way either, because I don't want to watch the show about a bad guy. I like heroes. But at the same time, if you turn Boba Fett into a hero, well, now he's not true to the character. And so what I want is a show like The Mandalorian, a show about a character who is a genuine hero, not a show about a guy who is a criminal not being a criminal.
Right.
And that just doesn't make sense to me. And now, who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong, and it'll be awesome. I'm still expecting the show to be very well done. I'm certainly expecting the production value of the show to be through the roof. If what we've seen with The Mandalorian is any kind of indicator, I think we're going to expect a beautifully done show.
Right.
I'm just not sold on the concept, if that makes
Right.
sense.
I'm not either. I don't think it makes much sense at all.
There are a lot, the Star Wars galaxy is big enough to where you could bring in a hero character, and there are plenty of hero characters that they're bringing in. And Thomas says it's a woke flop. It's not about wokeness or not wokeness. That's the problem.
Thomas probably is upset that there's a woman in there too.
Yeah,
several females.
That's true. That's true.
That'll probably impact its negative.
Now, Odd Librarian points out that one problem, of course, is that Boba in the movies died the same day Jabba did. That is true. And the one thing I do want to know is
Book of
Woka Fett. Nice. I do want to see the official story of how Boba survived. And so I think that part of the story could be interesting. And honestly, if they made the entire series just the story of Boba's survival and up to the point of when he met the Mandalorian, that would be a great series. Don't even get into bounty hunting and running the freaking underworld and all that. Just show me how he survived the Sarlacc pit. I want the opening scene of episode 1 to be Return of the Jedi, Han Solo going, Boba Fett, where? And then accidentally knocking him into the Sarlacc. And then that's where we start. And then we spend the entire first episode in the gullet of the Sarlacc as he's down there and miscellaneous people are coming in and landing on top of him as he's trying to figure out how to get out.
Do you think they'll try to have a serious way that he got out, or he's just going to be thrown up out? They could do that, and then I could see them just having him just thrown out.
I think what would make sense is, given his armor and everything, he could probably cut his way out.
Right.
And so I think that would make sense, that he could probably, he could probably absolutely cut his way out of the Sarlacc. But I want to see that story and have him struggle with, maybe the Sarlacc juices are causing problems with his equipment and he's trying to get it working. And Meanwhile, bodies keep coming in and landing on top of him, and ooze is all over him, making it hard for him to see. And it could just be like if you could spend 30, 40 minutes in the gullet of the Sarlacc, and that could be some of the most claustrophobic and intense time in all of Star Wars right there.
I don't think anybody would watch that. Maybe the first couple of minutes in there, but
well, like I said, I think you spend just one episode in the gullet of the Sarlacc, and then from there you go to him trying to survive in the desert. He has no way to survive. He ends up losing his armor. All the various things that happen to him.
they should have done the what they did with Darth. Oh, what the hell is his name?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, where he tries to unite all of the like crime syndicates and families or whatever. And if they did that, and he was going to do it, he was going to make it a much more Republic friendly operation, not necessarily good or anything like that, but make it so the Republic doesn't get involved as much. I think that'd be interesting. But I don't know, this Tatooine, and again, maybe it's just me, but the effects here don't seem all that well done. Some of them don't.
You just watching the trailer?
Yeah, I was going back. That spider, and then there's some effects that most of it's good, but there's just some that are like, what the hell?
Well, I'm not going to judge that much. I mean, I don't know how much is done, right. And they're not showing you much,
right?
And so I don't know if what they're really doing with the story. But to me, the whole idea of him just ruling the underworld with a kinder, gentler kind of gangster just doesn't sound that great.
Wonder if he's a hugger.
I'll bet you he is. I'll bet you he's a hugger and a docker.
A docker, you say?
Well,
he might be.
That's what you'd prefer, right?
Yeah, I mean, docking is fun. I'd suggest it for anybody.
See, April, run, please run. I don't understand. You think I'm kidding, April? You think I'm kidding?
Rude.
So I think we're kind of in agreement then on he can't hug. He has nuclear arms.
That's true.
Oh goodness. So let's talk about the Prime Directive for a minute. So you put out a video today.
Oh, before we get into that, one quick thing that I think is really cool. The Guardians of the Galaxy game. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not played it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's not in the same. It's not connected to the movies. It's in a different continuity than the movies.
Lore Reloaded, sponsored by Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's true. It's true. I was also called a CBS shill, by the way.
Well, we know you're a CBS shill.
Well, that's true. Apparently, and this goes back to what your fandom was saying, was I was against like Discovery and Kurtzman, and then there was a lawsuit that was threatened by CBS, so I turned around and became a shill so they wouldn't sue me.
Oh, that's what I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I found it quite interesting.
Hey, CBS, I will show for you for $299,000.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I could be bought if they want to pay me off. I could so easy. Not easy, but I could.
$299,000, CBS, and I will say nothing bad about your shows ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd proactively pimp them. I mean, geez, but yeah, it'd have to be a lot of money, but I can be bought.
Well, I'm throwing the number out there: $299,000, $299,000. Now that has to be tax free. I mean, you have to pay the taxes on that.
So it's a little bit more, but mostly.
I'm just throwing a number out there. What I can, as far as my Star Trek, how much I can be bribed. Now that doesn't mean I can't, say my honest opinion about everything else.
But we know that's what Strange New Worlds is going to come out, and you're going to be bought off for that. You already have been. So if it's positive.
Wait a minute. How do you know I've been bought out for Strange New Worlds?
Because you haven't been saying anything bad about it. You're hopeful.
Oh, so since I'm hopeful, I've been bought out.
Yeah, welcome to Fandom Menace Logic, baby.
Well, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, we can go ahead and talk about the video if you want to.
You just made me think of there was I can't remember what it was. Man, what was it? It was maybe it was Captain Marvel, but
okay, then it wasn't good if it was Captain Marvel.
No, I don't remember if it was Captain Marvel or if it was something else that was. It was before it came out, and I was talking about it in a live stream, and I was simply saying, "Hey, I'm not going to judge it till it comes out. Hopefully, it'll be good." Blah blah blah. And one of the large Fandom Menace channels, the person happened to flip by my live stream when I said that. And then they said on their live stream, man, Anti-Checker was talking like he was actually hoping that it'll be good. And it's like, I'm hoping it'll be good.
Was that Mecca?
No, I'm not going to, but I won't say
You said you weren't sure who it was. That's why I was...
No. I know who the person was that said it.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember what the franchise was that I was talking about. I think it might have been Captain Marvel, but I was saying like, oh, I hope it's good. And they were shocked that I would actually want it to be good. Like they were absolutely dumbfounded about the idea of wanting it to be good. And it's like, no, I genuinely I want Discovery season. What are we on? 4, 5?
4? Yeah, 4.
4. Yeah, I want Discovery season 4 to be good. I'm suspicious that it's going to probably be a train wreck, but I want it to be good.
Poor Robert Rose. Can I get some F's in the chat for Robert Rose Jr., who is so triggered, and I'm quite sure is a really skinny guy who definitely gets a lot of women. I'm sure he's not like meggily obese and has to touch himself. His brain is dead. And I feel horrible for. No, I feel bad. I mean,
Robert is a nice guy. He shows up to most of my streams, and now you're insulting me.
Sent out here to help those in need, and I feel bad for an invalid. And I just want
how is he an invalid?
So he said, "Why are we here watching two fat guys jabber on?"
Yes.
Robert Rose Jr. Yeah. So I feel bad for someone whose brain is so destroyed.
So you want some F's for him?
Whose fingers probably smell like Doritos. That's all I want. I don't know if you're gonna make fun of me. Why can't I make fun of people that attack us? Or are we supposed to take? Do you just take it when people attack you? Is that what it is?
Well, Robert, I'm sorry.
He attacked. Why are you? Oh my God. Okay. I guess if he attacked women, we would be okay with it, though, right? As long as he's like, man, you know what sucks? Women.
Well, that's your opinion. I know.
No, not my opinion.
You heard that, April. He just said he hates women. That's what Lore just said.
It was a joke.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Robert, I apologize, but
I'm just saying that what he tells me he hates you every day.
That her fingers smell like Doritos. I think. I don't know.
I
don't know what she's referring to.
Wait, her fingers smell like Doritos?
So let's ask you. Let's ask another thing. You know what, Robert? I will apologize. We're gonna share that. I will apologize, but don't. If you want the storm, you better bring the rain. Okay, that's all I'm saying. If you're gonna start the storm, don't bring the rain.
If you don't want to start the storm.
No, I said it the way I meant it to be said. I feel
I don't think you did.
I feel very confident in the way I said. Okay, no, I apologize. I just assumed that it was
I'm just giving him
trolling.
No. Well, Robert's he's a regular, but yes, he does sometimes get a little feisty. So the Pride Directive, you did it, and by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, you should watch Lore's video with a thumbnail that is not hyperbolic at all.
Let me ask you a question
Yeah.
real quick. Before that, and it's fine. I'm just curious. When it comes to the Phantom Menace, like you don't want to name names or anything like that, but they're not really a huge fan of you, right? So why does it matter?
Why does it matter? Why do I not name names?
Yes, why does it matter?
Because I'm not a dick.
Oh, okay. I don't get that, given my natural proclivity.
I know you are generally a dick,
Given
but
the last 5 minutes where I went on Robert like real harshly.
I mean, yes, I can be very snarky sometimes, but I try and I fail sometimes. But I try when like if you and I are sitting here and I'll throw it back and forth with you all day long, but you're right here. I'm saying it to your face.
Right.
You know, and I would never, and people know this about me. I would never say anything about you. Like if I'm on a live stream and I'm talking about you, because the subject of you comes up, I would never say anything on a live stream about you that I wouldn't say directly to your face.
Oh, sure.
You
And
know.
I'm not saying that they won't be invited on.
Oh, I know, but that's my whole thing. I try and you know, like even though you know sometimes I might. Like when on that Trek Yard stream, you were like, "Whoa, dang!" But
Yeah,
I did.
not insulting. I'll be honest with you. I was like, "What the hell?"
But at the same time, when you asked me about it, I was like, "Well, hey, yeah, that's you know." But I was also trying to. I was being light about it. I was being funny about it, and they knew I was kidding around. But that you had turned your channel into something that was a fun look at you, because you started out with your channel, you really evolved it into something different. And I really like the way that you kind of get into the lore of the channel from a different perspective. And you've kind of gotten to where now you look at like the politics of the Federation, but you do it with your tongue just a little bit planted in cheek. You know?
Yeah, I mean, because it gets old to do yet another. Like I don't mind, but it gets old to do another battle breakdown or talk about what a constitution ship has. So,
but I love these videos. I think they're really good because they ask some interesting questions and they do point out some of the problems with 50 years of writing that doesn't take 50 years of lore into account.
Right.
And that's kind of what we run into at the Prime Directive here.
Yeah, it was kind of great. By the way, to that point, yeah, if I ever say anything or if Robert ever wants to come on, I'll come on so he can make fun of me if that make him feel better. Yeah. No, again, I thought he was either someone who was upset or just a troll.
No.
If you're ever, I know you've been on my streams sometimes, but usually our times are off. Yeah, if someone just comes at me, I just have fun with it.
I know.
I get Fs and chats and all kinds of stuff. Of course, I think some people do it just to mess with me. Because
people mess with you, never.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So about the
Prime Directive. So yeah. I think so. One thing you did very effective. First of all, props for pointing out that the writing is very inconsistent throughout Trek. So. First and foremost, we have to establish that, the Prime Directive is not 100% consistent as far as what it is and what the absolute rules are for it throughout Trek. Right. Sometimes it's treated as an absolute, you cannot break this rule. Sometimes it's more like a guideline than a rule, right. You know.
And the way I try to do it on those too is one of two ways. Either which one is generally more taken as accepted, or what is the most reasonable, which is the more reasonable fact to take in. Like when they travel to the center of the universe in like 3 different episodes, but in every other episode, it takes forever to get from point A to point B, right. So
well, and now one thing that you pointed out, there was a line of dialogue that you showed in your video, is that the Prime Directive would not apply to civilians.
It doesn't appear to be. I didn't find any evidence that shows that it does.
Right, but you actually had a line of dialogue where I think it was Data said that the Prime Directive wouldn't apply because the people were not Starfleet officers or something.
Well, no, here's the real interesting thing, because TOS and TNG tie in, and I'm pretty sure this was done by Roddenberry on purpose. It seems like Starfleet ships, especially the bigger ones, are starships.
Yes.
Civilian ships or smaller ones are space ships.
Actually, no,
which is kind of interesting.
That's not quite right, and that's one thing I wanted to call you out on a little bit. That was a little misunderstanding you had on how the original series was framed. The Constitution class starship is not what it was originally called. It was originally called the Starship class vessel. So when Kirk was called a starship captain, it's because he was the captain of a starship class ship. But so the Constitution, what we later retconned as a Constitution class starship, was actually originally, if you look at the placard, the original gold placard on the bridge, it actually says Starship class. Because before that, everything else was just a, like it might be a Behemoth class spaceship or a, Reloaded class spaceship, but this was a Starship class ship.
Sure, and again, you kind of put it in there with the retcon. Based on what we see in TNG, it would appear that there is a variable difference.
Right. In TNG, every Starfleet ship is a starship.
Right. Which I'm really glad that ultimately, I mean, I don't want to say I'm glad he's dead, but I'm glad his influence stopped on TNG.
Yeah.
Because it got a lot better after it.
So yeah, with TNG, they changed it to where basically starship, and actually it was this way by the end of the TOS era, but basically any military ship was a starship, and a civilian ship was just a spaceship.
Yeah,
so
two of them.
Right. Well, we did see, for example, in Star Trek III, the Merchantman, which was a civilian ship. That was our first real good look at a civilian ship. Hey, girl, what are you doing? Come here.
Don't talk to your wife that way, man. That's rude.
Oh, shut up. I'm talking to my chihuahua. Jeez. She was trying to hop up here, but I don't think she could quite make it. You want to come up? All right.
Hey, Robert, you were talking about the... so here's an interesting thing, not to take us off topic, but the lieutenant. Okay. One of the things I actually did in getting my degree, I did a analysis of Roddenberry's life. And a fun thing about the lieutenant and Roddenberry, say whatever you want about him and who he was. On some things, he really did walk the walk. Something you may not know is in the lieutenant, he had a scuffle with between a white officer and a black officer, wherein the white officer is effectively racist. And the lieutenant was being funded by, I think it was the Army. It was the Army or the Navy. And because of that, they pulled all the funding. And they even told him they were going to pull the funding, but he stood his ground. He said, no, we want to explore this in the military. It's one of the few times I actually really respect. Although I'll say this, the lieutenant, how it ended is so white savior, not understanding the plight of people of color. It's funny. You've never seen The Lieutenant, right?
I have not.
Okay, so there was.
I know that's Roddenberry's other show, right?
Yeah, he did a couple shows, but that was the one he's well known for.
Yeah.
So in The Lieutenant, you had a white officer being racist to a black officer, and the company takes up for him ultimately, right? And they all show solidarity. And you want to know how they also show solidarity at the end? They all dress up in blackface and go on a run and go in front of everyone in blackface to show solid. And wow. the way it is shown is like it's a good thing. Like they're all trying to support him or what. It is so 1960s, and trying to do something good and really not understanding.
Right.
It was
like, this isn't racist at all.
Yeah, exactly. We're actually supporting black people in this. But yeah. Anyway.
Blackface matters.
But yeah, I mean, the lieutenant really gave me some respect for Roddenberry because at least
Good
he
job.
stood
You
by it.
made it up your little steps. So
Man, the way you talk to your wife and you say the
T'Pring has
word now.
joined us here. So say hi to everybody, T'Pring. Well, no, actually, you can't see it, but I got her a little. There's a little thing right next to me she could sit on, but she's been
Oh, that's cool.
afraid of climbing up the little steps, even though they're Chihuahua-sized steps.
Right.
Anyway, so I think it makes sense that the Prime Directive would not apply to civilians in the same way that most of the time, like if like if you go to Japan right now, you can't sign a treaty with the Emperor of Japan,
Right.
right? And so there are certain international laws and stuff that don't apply to you, that only apply to nations. And you being a civilian, you deal with civilian level law as opposed to governmental stuff.
Right. So there's a couple of things to that, and you did bring that up in a comment.
Yeah.
So here's two pieces to that. So first off, again, it goes to being wildly inconsistent. Like
Right.
sometimes it feels like Starfleet is the Federation. Sometimes it feels like it's a organization that serves the Federation, right? But the other piece to that is that people confuse Starfleet for they confuse Starfleet for the Federation. And
Right. That
so
was the other thing I
like
wanted to talk to you about.
yeah, like I would say a good 70 to 80% think the prime directive applies to civilians. When I would agree with you that Starfleet is a military, or even if we assumed it's not, we know it is, but even if we assume that it wasn't, it is a
It's an arm of
policy.
the. It's an arm of
Yeah,
the government. It's
it's a
not
policy for that organization.
right. Starfleet. Even if you say, because it's funny, because if you argue that it's not the military, the only way you can truly argue it's not the military is in the same way that the Navy is not the military. By strict pedantic definition, the Army is the military. The Navy is not. The Navy is a separate organization as the military. The military specifically is ground forces, and so naval forces don't count.
Right.
And so, since the Starfleet is really the space navy, and so when Picard, smugly says Starfleet is not a military organization, when Picard says that in Peak Performance, he could be simply referring to the fact that we're a navy, we're not an army.
Right. Well, he
But
retcons everything Kirk said, but yeah.
right, I know, because Kirk said he's a soldier. Kirk understands that, yeah, when we go to war, it's Starfleet that answers the call.
Well, he even says a couple of times that it's an integrated service now.
Right.
That it's, and it wasn't just talking about men and women. It's just that they're all together.
Right.
Now.
He says that, and tomorrow is yesterday. He tells that to the young Captain Christopher.
Yeah.
And which is funny. We're going to be watching that this Friday on our movie night. But yeah, so the Starfleet is clearly the future of the military, but as such, like when we talk about the legal ramifications, as a military officer, and even if you want to say as a naval officer or as a space navy officer, you fall under the UCMJ, right? The Uniform Code of Military Justice, or whatever they call it in the 23rd, 24th, 25th century, as opposed to the Constitution of the United States as a U.S. civilian. If you're in the Federation, what's interesting is if you're in Starfleet, you fall under the Starfleet equivalent of the UCMJ if you're serving on a starship. But if you're not serving on a starship, you fall under the legal precedent of whatever star system you happen to be in. So it could be like if you're on Beta Z, you're under Betazoid law, right? Because that's an independent nation state in the Federation, a member world as you refer to it. And so their legal system may not be the same as Earth's or Vulcan's or whatever.
Yeah, the
And
governmental system of
right.
of the Federation does not make any cannot possibly work in
Right,
any.
but well, there's certain universal rights that the Federation would have to, like for example, say things like you can't, uh, they'd have certain standards of okay, you can't execute people for jaywalking or whatever, but aside from human rights violations, they'd say, well, you can run your government the way you want to. However, when you're on a starship, you run things the way the starship that you run things under the UCMJ. That's how things are run on board a starship. And so when you're on Kirk's ship, Kirk is in command, you fall under his rules. If you beam down to the planet Gideon, which, is a member world, you are under Gideon's laws. No longer are you under the Starfleet regulations.
So I understand what you're saying. I was in the military, and I know that you give up certain rights in the UCMJ under the UCMJ when you become a soldier, because a lot of the conversations about like taking the prick. I don't know if you want to say it, but getting the jab, as they would say, as well as rights to where you go, and you can't say you don't have freedom of speech as citizens do, but
Right.
it seems to me, I'm not sure if you're going this way, but it seems to me that if under the United States military code, if they decided to change it to where slavery was legal, it feels like there'd be constitutional challenges to that. Maybe I'm wrong, but in Star Trek, the Star Trek universe, it
Mm-hmm.
seems like they are completely separate from each other, which is what I was saying. It was just really weird. Now, to be fair, they haven't gone in depth on it, so that could just be us not seeing it. But it seemed
Well, it's like with Data, with like you mentioned, Data's trial.
right.
It was only ruled that Data was property of Starfleet.
Well, no, because they were talking about having him being sapient and sentient, right? Is he is he actually a real boy, as they might say? And if he's not, that doesn't feel like something the military gets to decide.
But it's something that the military like if the Air Force, for example, developed a computer system that became self-aware, um, then it would have to go into a military tribunal to determine whether or not that was a living being, or whether or not it was simply a piece of Air Force equipment.
So if the United States military decided that if you were still a part of the army and the army said we're going to lock you in a prison until your time is up, and that's just what we do. We have found that that is the best use of you as United States property, right? Um, you would not have any relief through the Constitution or civilian courts. It would there is no one that could sue outside of the U.S. military.
Well, except that when in the case of with voluntary service in the United States military as it stands, I know things have changed a little bit since I was in, but you would contract for a specific amount of time. It was like indentured servitude. So
Right.
you would say that I abdicate my rights under the United States Constitution for X number of years, and
Right.
and then at the end of that period, I could renew that and extend it, or I could simply step out and be free, which is what I did.
Right. Well, and this is one of the issues with Measure of a Man because I don't think it's one to one. But like for instance, I don't think the military could say you are forced to give away a lung to another soldier. Right.
Forced to
They
give away
couldn't
a loan?
a lung, Lung, a
Oh, a
lung.
lung. Well, that's
They couldn't.
interesting because, in the modern day military, probably not. Back when I was in, possibly.
So
Uh, and that
I
and
got
but
another
when
question.
when TNG aired, it was more like when I was in, because the military has, for lack of a better term, become much more woke than it is now, than it was when I was in. Soldiers have many more rights than they did before. And for example, we had in when I was in basic and AIT. AIT is an acronym for Advanced Individualized Training. That's when you go to basic. When I was an MP, that would be going to the police academy, basically. And during that time, the MPs, when I was in, was the only combat unit that actually trained co-ed. And it turned out that, of course, this happens since it was co-ed. Some of the male and female soldiers decided to take a liking to each other. And one of the female soldiers ended up pregnant
Nice.
by the end of AIT. And there was no options. They were married.
Right.
And it was not that they didn't say, oh, guess, you're going to have to, here's what your choices are. They were like, no, you knocked her up. You're going to marry her.
But the military couldn't force an abortion, could it?
No, they would not. And in fact,
But could they?
No, they would not.
Not would. There's a lot of things they wouldn't do. Could they?
Could they force an abortion? I don't believe so. Not at least, especially not back then. But because the mantra at the time, and this is something they drilled into us when we were training, especially when they were talking about, okay, you're going to go overseas and you're going to see that pretty girl and you're going to want to get together with her, and guess what? Something might happen, and you are going to be faced with a moral, ethical, and legal obligation to take care of whatever you do. And so they weren't playing with that, because what happened during Vietnam, a whole lot of babies were made during Vietnam.
Right.
And the response, a lot of the policies came down as a response to that, because they didn't want that to continue on. They didn't want the soldiers to have a reputation to basically go around knocking girls up and then leaving.
Right. So, but I don't really think it's 1-to-1. And Measure of a Man is not a perfect thing. But I mean,
Right.
the Measure of the Man is talking about.
But I'm just saying they
in
will
theory-
get into your personal business and make
Right.
you do stuff you wouldn't think.
But in theory, Data signed up the same way everyone else did, and we'll just assume that they're contracts of some sort or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And so at first he's treated like a sapient sentient individual. Just for the sake of argument, let's say that he is. They don't have a right. It doesn't feel like the U.S. military has a right to start randomly taking organs or experimenting on individuals without some kind of oversight. Again,
Right.
It feels like, I don't know,
But
it
a Measure
feels
of a
like if they
Man,
started doing stuff like that
in order
if they
to
started,
equate that
go
to
ahead.
taking organs, that would be the admission that Data is a living being.
Right. But here's the thing. First off, Starfleet didn't create Data. Soong did, or Noon did. I think it's
Right.
Noon, right? So at worst, it's not even Starfleet
I think
property.
soon, or however you say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, at worst, it's not even Starfleet property. So they really don't even have any rights there anyway. And that seems like that would become a civil issue, right? Because say I created an intelligent AI and it decides it wants to be in the military. It joins the military, and then the military says, okay, now we want to strip you apart and see if we can figure out what's going on, and it may actually destroy you. I didn't abdicate any rights. Like, it signed up for all
That's
of it,
the
right?
weird thing about Measure of Man, and that's where I think Picard's defense should have been based, is the fact that Data existed prior to his service in Starfleet.
Right.
And since Data was not created by Starfleet, that's where my defense would have rested. Is that
But then you don't have your slave analogy that they really wanted to do.
Yeah, I know, but that ultimately would have been his best defense. Is that yes, Data is a piece of equipment. He's just not a piece of equipment that belongs to Starfleet.
Right. Well, so another thing that you reminded me of, I'm not sure why I didn't think of this beforehand, but like looking at Voyager,
Hmm.
when he created the hologram, the holo novel or whatever.
Yeah, and all the holograms were mining dilithium at the end.
Yeah, but no. At first, it was like they tried the "this is Starfleet property" thing, and that didn't work. And so they then went from uh, that the Doctor is an artist, and apparently artists are specifically pointed out in the charter of the Federation, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and so they kind of treated him like an
Oh,
individual
and
too.
let me just say something. No, Professor Brainy Specs is not banned permanently. Multi-Gunman does not have the authority to ban anyone because he is Kurrogan, and Kurrogans have no rights. All right, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's just I don't know when it comes to how Starfleet works and everything. You know, let me ask you this: when it comes to my analysis, that seems to be the way it works. Now, obviously, I don't think it was ever written to be nefarious,
Hmm.
but it seems like the Federation colonizes or Federation citizens go and colonize. It then becomes a protectorate of Starfleet,
Right.
which at that point can impact. And the Prime Directive, in theory, means you can't ever do anything, which is a stupid thing. I will agree. But it seems like you can't ever do anything uh, unless there's these really special circumstances.
Right. Well, the weird thing is, okay, so when you were talking about the colonization piece of your video, you're right. So the Starfleet doesn't colonize. Starfleet is simply the sheriff,
Hmm.
right? So they protect, they patrol, they resupply, they render aid when necessary, and all that good stuff.
Right.
The colonists themselves are simply citizens of the United Federation of Planets that come from a member world to a supposedly vacant world to set up a colony.
Right.
Now, one interesting question is, well, shouldn't the Prime Directive prevent any colony from ever forming because any colonization would change the natural evolution of that planet? And so, but based on a strict interpretation of the Prime Directive, like we see from the TNG era, all colonization should be banned
Right.
because even as Carol Marcus would say, there can't be so much as a microbe because any type of life form, and you've changed the natural evolution of that planet.
Well, and I think the other piece to that too, and I didn't really do a good job. One of the things I regret is I didn't do a good job of explaining this. But let's say that you find a planet that has no microbes. It is an absolute dead planet, and yet somehow you're going to be able to colonize it, right? Let's just
Right.
assume you find a magical way, like the Genesis device or whatever. Um, a dead planet still has a percentage chance of getting hit by a meteor or a asteroid,
Right.
which could then at that point create. Now, if you have a colony there, you're going to defend that colony and destroy that asteroid, right? You're not going to let it destroy the people that are there. So at that point, there is a chance that you're also preventing life at that point. Like if you get as pedantic or extreme as you can, it really
Right.
the prime directive is very, very limiting.
Right. The Prime Directive, the original concept of the Prime Directive is perfectly reasonable and fine. The idea that, hey, we're not going to just beam into a pre-warp society and announce ourselves,
Right.
unless we have to, you know. And even in the original series, and this is where I think some of the writing went off the rails, unfortunately, in the Berman era. But in the original series, you actually see several examples, like in the Apple, where they say, they're looking at the feeders of Vol, and Kirk's like, we got to do something about this, and Spock's like, well, you realize that if we do anything, we'll be violating the Prime Directive. because that would interrupt the natural evolution of these people. And he goes, these people aren't evolving. This is a stagnant population, and therefore it's not a violation. And so in the original series, it seemed that the even though, like in the Omega Glory, we saw with Captain Tracy that violating the Prime Directive is considered one of the worst crimes a captain can commit, a captain is also allowed to make that judgment call when the Prime Directive doesn't apply. So, which Kirk has done on multiple occasions. So I don't think, like people say, oh, Kirk violated the Prime Directive. I don't think Kirk violated the Prime Directive in the Apple, because if it's a stagnant society, you're not, you're not messing up the natural evolution of their society by getting it out of being stagnant again. Because whatever Vol is, these people didn't create Vol.
Right.
And so you're simply getting them back on course.
Right. And I actually had one of his, I had that interaction as a piece. I ultimately didn't use it, but I did have that because he was talking with him. And it's like you said, he was talking with him. And he's like, Starfleet Command won't like that. He's like, I'm going to take my chances. I do think that it makes more sense that they simply can't rush in. And it kind of works like if you're going to disobey a direct order, that doing it means that you could lose everything.
Right.
But sometimes you
it's
have
something
to
you take seriously.
Right. I prefer that it's that way. But again, just looking at from TNG on makes
they treat it like a religion in TNG and Voyager especially.
Right.
And then in Voyager they're so heavy-handed and even straight up contradictory with it. I wish you had used what's the name of that episode where Janeway and Paris go back in time like a day, on that planet that's about to blow itself up.
Yeah, they're the ones that do it.
Yeah,
they have that argument.
And Janeway's like, under no circumstances are we to reveal ourselves. Hi, I'm Janeway from the future.
Well,
and it's like,
what's awesome is, and I don't know that they ever meant to do this on purpose, but it quite clearly shows that the order is just there because I said so, because Tom directly confronts her. She's like, we just can't do it because it's against the Prime Directive and we don't know what's going to happen. And he's like, saving these people from destruction, whatever happens, has to be better than saving these people from destruction. And she straight orders him not to. Right. She doesn't have a counter. She just pulls rank on him. I don't know that they ever did that. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but it really was.
Yeah, and Tom was 100% right. If the natural course of what was going to happen was going to be complete and total annihilation, then there's nothing wrong with intervening at that point.
Right. I don't know. I think I wonder.
Donnie says that they may be selling the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise for $300 million, and Viacom CBS may be contending to buy the franchise. Well,
isn't that a dead franchise? What are they going to do with that?
Yeah, let me chalk that up to the don't care.
Yeah, I mean, if it was worthwhile, it'd be owned by Disney at this point. So, I
mean, I suppose they could have Alvin and the Chipmunks on a starship. That would be funny.
They'll start doing references like they do in Marvel. Man, I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I think as written with as much information as we know, really it's just the height of hypocrisy, because it seems like one of two things happen. It really seems like if there's a planet within the borders of the Federation and there's no civilization that is markedly there, then you can colonize. It really seems like almost like the Wild West, where people could just go and get their plot of land. It's either that or the Federation or specific member worlds will colonize a planet. And that is just...
And then, of course, you have planets with rape gangs.
Right. In Federation space.
Yeah. But they're not the Federation.
Right. Because, but they can't. That would be interfering in internal affairs. So
how?
Well, I mean, it is possible. First off, they should do something. But it is possible that, like,
If they are humans and the planet is in Federation space and there are rape gangs running around chasing young girls, then you do something.
have you ever noticed there were a lot of human colonies, a lot of lost human colonies that they find in the original series and in TNG?
Well, in the original series, usually the human colonies they knew were human colonies.
Well, it seems like they found quite a few
No,
human
I mean
colonies.
they found a couple, but they like the well in the original series they found a couple of weird alternate Earths. Like the planet where everything is Germany from the 1940s, and the
Right,
planet where everything is Italy from the year zero,
right.
and stuff like that. But that was the thing from the original series, is finding alternate Earths. Um,
I don't know. It seems perfectly Federation to allow a rape world in their
Rape
world.
World coming
Yeah,
soon.
exactly. It sounds like something the Federation would do, even though it doesn't make any sense. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that would be allowed to persist again, specifically within the borders. It's not like it was in an independent sector or in Romulan space or
Right,
anything
it
like that.
was
No, this
in
was straight.
Federation space,
Right,
and let's not forget that the Federation was also completely okay with the Baul eating the Kelpians.
right. But that wasn't in Federation space, was it?
Well, we're not really told where they are, but it does seem pretty clear that they're at least close by enough to where you know when the parts fell off the Baul ship, and with a little battery powered communicator, he was able to contact Georgiou. It's
Uh,
it's not like he had a big old honking transmitter,
yeah. Well,
and and
on the
and, and they knew about the Baul, and so it's like, oh yeah, we know they eat you, but hey, you can come along with us,
well, I
and
mean, the Federation always does that. To be fair, it had a great Pike moment at least. I forget exactly what he said, but he's like, when he was talking to the Bao, remember, he's like, right now right now the Federation wants to be your friend, or we're open to being friends. You want to see what happens when we don't, or something like that. I thought that was a great moment.
But but I'm thinking about the flashback short trek when we find out the origin, and Georgiou violates the Prime Directive to bring
Saru.
Saru on. And I was like, wait a minute. So you guys knew about this whole thing of them getting eaten, and you're okay with it?
But I mean, again, you have the Klingons, you have the Dominion. I mean, the Federation
Yeah,
does
but
that.
if the Klingons were, let's say the Klingons were eating the Bajorans, do you think the Federation would step in?
Well, no, I think I don't think they ever ate a civilization. But what I will say is
But
that they enslaved
if they were eating the Bajorans, don't you think the Federation
they
would step in?
they enslaved entire planets. They randomly killed people. They would go onto planets, steal all their resources, and leave them to die. And the Federation allies with them. So I mean, the Federation doesn't have the biggest morals on that. I mean, wouldn't you agree that stealing the resources or enslaving planets is at least in the same ballpark as eating people?
I
You have a
no,
similar
no, no, no. I
result.
think eating
You
people
have
is
a
definitely
similar
at a different
you
level
have a
than pretty
similar
much
result.
everything
I
else.
think. Um
and
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 that's
so
a
but yeah, the Federation, and your good point, Dreamers Out There points out that the Cardassians were raping and killing the Bajorans, and the Federation did nothing, and which is horrible. The Federation seems really, really tolerant of just about any kind of brutality as long as it's out, and actually even within its borders, because rape world was within the borders of the Federation. They were okay with that. The Baul slash Kelpian, buffet planet was at least bordering the Federation. Because I mean, if the Shinzo was able to go there without having to do anything sneaky, and she just landed and picked up Saru and left, So they were either in Federation space or near it. So yeah, the Federation seems to be completely okay with just about any horrific act you can imagine, including eating people.
I mean, the Federation. So I forget the name of the. There was a TNG episode, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's season 1 or season 2, where there was a human boy. So the Federation, Starfleet had been at war with a species that would do two different things. First, they would call for help, rig their ships to explode, and then do that all the time because Starfleet would respond no matter what. And then they would also capture um, Starfleet personnel. And so what happened is they found a ship with a boy on it that was human, and he apparently was physically abused, and Picard still gave him back to the people. What? Do you remember that?
No,
Probably not.
did Picard like cut off a couple of fingers as a snack while before he sent him back? I
No,
mean,
but they did. They ate it together
I mean,
because TNC everywhere human boy
barbecue bajorans and kelpian kebabs. Yeah,
used. Um, if you guys can remember that, I forget.
Donnie says that's suddenly human from season
Yeah.
4.
Oh wow, that's a season 4 episode. That's interesting.
And I don't know about what the status of Tasha Yar's home planet is, as far as whether they seceded or what.
They're
But
probably still raping.
yeah, you know, it's still it's
You can't just secede and do horrific things and it be okay. Like it would, like the state of Utah could not secede and then begin beating the hell out of anybody who has a name that starts with J and the US not respond in some way. You can't, just because you secede doesn't mean you get to start doing horrific things, at least in my opinion.
unless you're California.
Unless you're well, I mean, California does it. It's a part of the Constitution. It was a provision. It was a
Oh,
proviso.
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a little known thing.
Yeah, so you know, so any name starting with J, huh? Where'd you come up with that?
It's just a random name.
April disagrees with you, by the way.
The state of Utah could succeed. Could they succeed? Secede. I mean, we're not losing anything with Utah, so.
What about Salt Lake?
Well, we're losing a red state. What about Salt Lake?
Well, it's a lot of salt. I happen to like my salt.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We would lose our popcorn. We couldn't have salt for our popcorn.
Yeah,
so that would be
see?
bad. The kid was the relative of an admiral. Picard gave him back to the aliens rather than take him home. He also literally had broken bones due to physical abuse. Like the doctor goes out of her way to say that. It was a really bad episode. I don't know why they write the things they do. That episode guest starred Chad Allen. Okay.
So Yar would be like claimed huge island for the U.S. Then the current colony failed, told us to get bent and cut off all contact. But it still makes no sense because I mean it just
You can't do that. So even if they seceded and the Federation let them secede, you can't just secede and then start randomly killing people or raping people without the Federation. So what if they seceded and they started building nuclear arsenals and started sending them out in random directions that didn't hit other Federation planets? What you can't just because you secede doesn't mean you can carte blanche do whatever you want.
well, I mean you could, but it would be just a horrible thing to do.
It could succeed at taking over J states. Okay.
Because Utah means nothing.
Well, if they become a threat, then yeah. It surprises me. And I don't mean this in a negative way necessarily. I can't see how anyone would be okay with some state or city seceding, then going out of their way to harm their populace and that not being an issue, especially since they are still within the borders, right? So like if that seems similar to like if a reservation, right? Because those are sovereign.
Yeah, and you love them.
Yeah, I do. I love everything about them, reservations. If they started,
Well, at least you admit it.
if they started like killing their own people or raping their own people, you're saying the U.S. would just let that happen? Be like, well, it's a sovereign, even though it's within the borders of the U.S. Right? I'm not crazy, right? Do you think the U.S. would step in that instance?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why are you being passive?
I'm just saying that, I think that no.
You're just saying no?
No.
Okay.
I think the United States does nothing.
You think you do? You think the United States just let it happen? It's like, oh well, not our problem.
Rape is all good.
Rape is, not only do they do nothing, they go out of their way and say rape is all good.
Yes.
Okay.
Because just like the Federation, rape is good, cannibalism good, occupation of the Bajorans, we're good with it. Well, we'll just wait for it to end, and then we'll come in and help.
And then somehow say it's not a violation of the Prime Directive in some way, right, shape, or form.
And yeah, it's stupid.
If the Federation accepted the secession, then it fits within what we know of the Federation to allow rape gangs to go unchecked.
Well, it really makes no sense. I mean, because the way they treat the Prime Directive in the TNG era makes no sense. Because initially, the Prime Directive was just so that you don't reveal yourself to pre-warp civilizations, to basically, you don't change, because that would change the way that their whole perspective on the universe, and we don't want to mess with their history and all that. Okay.
Did they have the internal affairs proviso too? I feel like there was an internal affairs.
Internal affairs.
Like, you don't get in the middle, even if they have post-warp, you don't get in the middle of like a civil war or whatever. I feel like that.
No, they didn't really did anything like that. They just basically talked about pre-warp civilizations. Okay. But even then, they were exceptions if there was strategic importance, or if, for example, if the Klingons had made contact with the aliens,
then you're okay to do that.
Then it was okay for us to do it because they'd already been tampered with.
Right.
So it was a doctrine that made a certain amount of sense, but it was within reason, so yeah, we don't make contact with pre-warp civilizations. Oh shoot, someone else already did. Okay, now you can.
Right.
That kind of thing. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we secede, so now you can't do anything. Prime Directive, nee. And it's like, oh, yep, you're right. We can't do anything. And it's like, what? Like in the first episode of Deep Space Nine, when Picard's like, and you have to do everything you can, short of violating the Prime Directive, to get the Bajorans ready to become members of the Federation. Short of violating the Prime Directive, what, are you going to just not tell the Bajorans you exist?
Right.
That makes no effing sense.
Yeah, I mean, even under the most lax understanding of the Prime Directive, there's no evidence that actual warp. It's insane. There was too much interaction. It is a walking Prime Directive.
Yeah, the Bajorans obviously already know about the Federation, the Cardassians, and all that. You're in negotiations to get the Bajorans into the Federation. You are way beyond Prime Directive time.
Well, and they even admit that if the Federation pulled out, the Cardassians would just come right back in.
Right.
And the whole reason they didn't stop them from stop the Cardassians from holding Bajor is because it was an internal issue, right? It's just, it's so dumb.
Yeah. So yeah, and Bajor had warp drive. There was nothing about that made sense. The Berman era Prime Directive is just completely inconsistent and makes no sense. It's just there, the problem is that they were trying, and I'm sorry if I know some people hate but it's true, in TNG especially, they were trying to get religion out of it, and so they made the Prime Directive their religion.
I don't know that they, so I don't know that was done on purpose, but that was the replacement. I'll agree.
That's what they did. They didn't mean to, but you have to, the Prime Directive became their higher power.
Right. I think you could have made it without like being an atheist civilization with no higher power, but they definitively did not do that
Right.
for sure.
Well, the problem is that they weren't consciously doing it, you know.
Right.
And I don't think that first of all, I think that trying to purposely, because I know Roddenberry had very, you know, and we all know this, but Roddenberry had very little creative control of the original series. The original series, while not a religious show at all, did have smatterings of religious stuff in it, enough to where you knew that, okay, religion's not dead in the 23rd century.
Right. It was truly diverse because
Yeah.
you had main characters that were atheist, Christian, other
Right.
kinds of
Right.
yeah.
And there was evidence of this throughout the show.
Right.
And which I thought was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. But then in TNG, Roddenberry had some creative control for the first season. He wanted to push religion out of it. And with that conscious effort to push religion out, but no effort to actually create some kind of atheist society and how that would work, something crept in to replace it, and that became the Prime Directive.
Right.
And unfortunately, because the Prime Directive was not well thought out, it just became this nebulous mess where we have rape gangs and cannibalistic cultures, and the Federation's completely okay with it.
Right. And they justify it by saying the nature has to take its course, which is effectively just making nature God.
Right.
Right. It's like I don't. So
It's
I
stupid.
hate that they did. Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to, and I don't know that I'm a huge fan of it, but if they did want to make a turn them atheist, because I could almost to a degree see the argument for it, or how you'd write that. Um, if they wanted to do that, they should have went it by a completely different way.
Right.
So
And I mean, the problem is if you just given, like, what you could have done is like, uh, you can write a clever, interesting atheist character, and make it a character that won't offend people who are believers in something. I mean, look at the Battlestar Galactica reboot.
right,
You know, the Admiral Adama was a great atheist character.
right,
And so there, you can absolutely do it. And it's just that unfortunately with Picard, you just kind of said, oh yeah, and he's an atheist, and you didn't know what to do with it.
right. Well, and then it's like we'll return them to the. I will not return people to the Dark Ages
Oh,
or
don't
whatever.
even get me
That
started about who watches the Watchers. I will
that was
punch you
that
in the
was
face if you are. Ugh.
that wasn't about Picard being an atheist. That was attacking religious
Yeah, that was
people.
just an
Is all that was.
anti-religious rant.
Yeah,
And
which made absolutely no sense.
yeah.
So they yeah, it's unfortunate.
And not only anti-religious but racist. That was a straight up racist episode because notice they were like, well, the reason that this culture was so sophisticated and atheistic is because they were genetically similar to Vulcans.
Right,
They were straight up racists.
right.
You know, was Adama atheist or agnostic? He was atheist, and
Yeah,
that is in dialogue in the show.
oh yeah, he was straight. There was no. He
Yeah,
was like
he was a
he was
straight up.
hard atheist.
Yeah, he was a straight up atheist, but he was a great character, and so that's what mattered.
Well, and the way he did it too, I think.
Yeah,
I think he was atheist. I think he was not shy about that stance, but I don't think he really cared if anyone else was religious. I think
right.
he
And he
I think
wasn't.
he
Yeah, he wasn't running
respected.
around on YouTube trying to start debates about it. You know,
Right,
he just didn't believe.
right,
And in fact, the woman that he ended up falling in love with, of course, was deeply religious,
right,
and that was one of the interesting things about their relationship.
right. She was not just deeply religious; she was a religious icon. She was
Right.
like the Mobus, the not Mobus, but the I won't say Jesus, but like Moses or whatever. I
Yeah, she
think
was a
I don't know.
mosaic kind of figure.
Yeah,
But yeah, she was, Yeah, she was very, the Adama in the 1978 version was actually very religious.
Yeah, that was based off the Mormon Church,
Yeah,
wasn't
it
it?
was based on the LDS philosophy, and it's funny because me and the wife just rewatched it, and it man, when you get into the episodes that are heavy into the LDS stuff, once
All
you
right.
it's like, oh, here it comes, and it's like, yeah.
I couldn't watch it, man. I gotta say, I like some pieces of it, but it's just that series is not for me. I like the new stuff
Yeah, I
personally.
think the new show is better, but I do like the old show.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I really wish there are some really good parts in Shrek. I think, ironically, I think usually Janeway is a good atheist, and I think Kira is a pretty good theist. Um,
The problem with the way they do theism on Deep Space Nine, though, is that the the religion of the wormhole stuff, the prophets, is not a religion in the modern sense. In that you don't, there's no, I mean, there's no mystery at all. I mean, they're just there. I mean,
right.
the orbs are physical things, and you have actual experiences by opening them up. You can actually go to the celestial temple and go through the wormhole. The prophets have actual encounters with people. There's no air of, are they out there, is this real, kind of thing. There's no and for lack of a better word, I don't like using it, but for lack of a better word, there's no faith component to it.
Right. Well, I think it makes sense for most people in the at least in the Federation, probably in the Star Trek universe, to be atheist. And the reason why is I think that when they travel into the stars, you meet all these godlike beings, and you literally meet like Apollo and Zeus and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And so I could see that having a negative effect on people where, oh, every instance that you have is just like some kind of alien.
Well,
So
actually,
I
I,
kind of see that, but I don't think they did it right.
I actually think it would be interesting, and this is where, unfortunately, Trek has dropped the ball because they're too busy writing their let's do another girl power thing, instead of getting into some really good philosophy. But this could be an interesting conversation because with what you've had in very powerful beings like the Organians and the Q and whatever Trelane is and stuff. But then you've also had beings like Apollo that Kirk postulated, what if he actually is Apollo? Because everything that we saw of that episode seems that the Greco Roman gods were 100% legit, right? From what we saw in that episode, Apollo was real. He never said, "Yeah, I was just pulling your leg." And at the end, when he died, he was talking about the other gods that he was going to join them, which means that they were around, and Apollo was just the last of them.
Right.
And so, if that bit of polytheism was true and accurate, then what an interesting conversation to start having about, well, then what about the monotheistic faiths? Is there anything to support that? And then you could have those conversations. Well, I think it's just stories of these powerful aliens, while another person says, well, I think there's a deeper mystery to where everything came from. And that's a conversation that can be an interesting conversation to have between your helmsman and your navigator or whatever during the slow points in the show, you know?
I think Battlestar, not Battlestar, Babylon 5, I think did it
Mhm.
really well in some instances. Did you ever watch Babylon 5?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
So there was an instance where the
I probably haven't watched the whole thing since it originally aired.
there was a priest that came to one of the main characters and was like, there's a demon below decks, and I can't get rid of it. I need help, like exercising it or whatever. And instead of exercising it, they're able to use like science to get rid of it. They're able to somehow find out whatever it is. And he's like, it really hit his faith or whatever. He's like, I can't believe I thought this was something religious. And the character, who I believe is an atheist, actually comes back and says, just because there's like an explanation here doesn't mean that it's still not religious, or doesn't mean that
Right.
this isn't something that has like a god connected to it. It's just we found an answer to it in this way. It shouldn't, this doesn't disprove anything,
Right.
and I think those could have been some interesting conversations to have, because I think that's a pretty good counter, that just because um super beings like the Q or whatever exist doesn't mean there isn't like one god. It just means that super beings exist, and identifying that one god might be harder to do,
But I think those are interesting conversations that Trek is missing right now.
That's what I was saying. I
Yeah.
said that's what I was talking about. That
Yeah.
would be a really interesting.
But yeah, unfortunately, we're just having, hey, girl power, power of math. Hey guys, effing awesome, yay!
Math, people.
Yeah, and so instead we want to drop f-bombs and whatever.
Well, just because you don't like the way new stuff is, they'll get off your lawn, I'm sure.
And
And I get it. There's only one white, well, one male who's being represented, obviously.
Right.
So I understand how frustrating that is for you.
Well, wait, where's the heterosexual white male?
In which series? Because all of them have one.
In Discovery.
Ever? It's
the currently at least.
The actor, the admiral, or the guy with the glasses.
Well, are they? Do we know?
Yeah, one has a wife.
Are you sure?
He says he has a wife. Now, to be fair, it could be a trans woman, and so I guess most of
the glasses guy could be the wife.
Who he was talking about.
Yeah,
you're right. I can't disprove that as a theory. So you're right. You got me. Got him. Got me on that.
Yeah. So.
Trace is unsubscribing. I thought you loved Discovery. Did I just subscribe to the wrong channel? You lost Trace.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Trace. Well,
Trace, a regular messing with you?
I will be more than happy to say I love Discovery for the low price of $299,000.
And no cents, just $299 straight.
$299. Yeah, you know what? I will kick in the cents that I need.
He'll take that hit for you.
Yes, I care enough about you guys that I am perfectly willing to pitch in the extra 99 cents I would need on top of the $299. So
he's a giver, really. When you,
I really am. I'm a very.
I really am.
I'm such a generous guy.
And the admiral's probably dating the Federation president. Well, I mean, it's probably polyamorous because it's it's a progressive thing. So he's probably.
Well, yeah,
I was hoping the guy with the glasses would be the president, but it seems like that woman is going to be the president.
Well, you can't have a male president. That would be.
I mean, if you want things done wrong.
So you're saying if a woman does it, it's wrong?
It's done right,
So you hate women?
I'm saying that men have been in charge for the past like a million years, and you saw where it got us.
Top of the food chain?
No, we almost destroyed each other quite a few times.
Yeah, but we're also top of the food chain.
Are we? Because it doesn't feel like we are.
Last time I checked, there aren't any animals trying to get us. I mean, could be wrong. So, April hates you. Run, April. Run.
Have you seen the Adjustment Bureau?
I did, but it's been a while.
Okay.
Why?
I just wonder if you watched it, if you liked it or not.
I'm trying to remember. That's the one where the weird guys in suits are just like randomly showing up trying to get people, right?
No. They wear hats, and they can go around based on hats, and they can they can't predict what you're going to do around water or whatever. It's the one where
So they're basically the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, basically. No, so it's about what happens is all of our lives um are written for us. It's a part of the plan written by the chairman. And if they are like they go and they adjust things to make sure everybody stays on plan and stuff like
Okay.
that. It's inferred that it's God and he's written this plan for us and whatnot. And one of the interesting pieces, you should watch it if you haven't watched it, you might like it.
I've watched it. I just don't remember it very well.
One of the interesting pieces is like, well, we took our, we gave you true free will at one point, and you started World War One or World War Two. So it's just an interesting thing. I thought it was.
And so me no others looking for things that eat humans: tigers, big snakes, and lions.
Sharks.
You see, you act like it's now. All right, let's do some numbers here. All right, let's see. How many people get eaten by sharks each year?
It's funny that you choose sharks and not like tigers. Or,
You want me to do tigers?
Things. That would be more common. How many? Well, I mean, whatever.
42
look up this.
Looks like.
What's the deadliest animal?
Okay. All right. One is, I think the deadliest animal is a hippo, isn't it?
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
That's not who I would. That's not the animal I would expect. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. What is the deadliest animal in the world? And according to Google,
humans.
Let's see. Come on, most dangerous animals. Will you just give me a straight up answer, you stupid search engine? What are the deadliest animals? What's the number one deadliest animal? Mosquitoes.
Really?
Humans killed per year by mosquitoes is 1 million.
Per year. 1 million people die of mosquitoes.
Yeah, because mosquitoes spread various diseases. Number two is humans. Humans kill 475,000 other humans per year.
Okay, so we're not the apex predator. That would be mosquitoes.
Yes.
That is not where I thought this would be going.
Number three is snakes. Snakes kill 50,000. Dogs kill 25,000. Tsetse flies kill 10,000. Assassin bugs kill 10,000. Freshwater snails kill 10,000. Scorpions kill 3,250. Roundworms kill 2,500. Tapeworms kill 2,000. Take that, people who like tapeworms for whatever reason.
Wow. I mean, after the mosquito and human stuff starts going down really quickly.
Yeah, but yeah.
So I was right. We aren't the apex.
No, you're not right. I mean, it's not like mosquitoes are going around going, "Yeah, I'm going to eat me a human."
Okay. Does it have to have that self-consciousness for them to be the deadliest?
Well, I'm saying we're top of the food chain. The mosquitoes aren't.
No, we're not. Mosquitoes whoop our ass when it comes. I'm sorry, whoop our butts when it comes to deaths. They got higher body counts than we do. They got double the body count we do. Not wrong. You can get upset about it.
I'm just saying that. Do you run for cover if a mosquito shows up?
Going to starting now.
Okay.
I mean, to be an apex predator, do you have to run for cover? Is that a part of it?
Well, I'm saying if you're afraid of a mosquito, you should probably do that.
But I mean, do you have to be afraid of something for it to be like, the apex predator?
You don't have to be, but I'm asking you if you are, since
I think the destruction of the mosquito is something that should be a human priority. It sounds like they're a problem.
Okay, well, there you go. We should dedicate all human resources to the ultimate destruction of the mosquito.
Genocide the mosquitoes, baby. Genocide them good.
Yeah, the problem is that if we rid the world of mosquitoes, probably the only way to do that would be to, do something that will destroy pretty much everything.
Us or them.
Yeah. Animals are not afraid, says Me No Other.
Oh, I disagree with that. I mean, put a rabbit in the pen with a wolf and see if it has fear.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean they are afraid though. That's what I'm saying.
Wow. You just
That's
wanted.
not a wow moment.
Yeah, it is.
Experience
Oh,
fear.
let's put a rabbit in a pen with a wolf.
Would it not experience fear
It would experience death.
and fear?
And April says hippos are apparently the deadliest large land mammal. Yeah, I knew that. I knew it was hippos. Yeah, hippos are incredibly dangerous.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you do not want to mess with a hippo. They are, so live in space stations, no bugs. Yeah, then you can go, weightlessness. Oh, my. Yeah, so you can do that all day.
I don't get the reference.
Really? You sent it to me. It's William Shatner.
When did I send that? Oh, yeah.
Weightless.
Did you ever do anything with that? Because I need to do something with that.
Yeah, actually, I for movie night, at the beginning of every episode of Star Trek where William Shatner goes space, the final frontier. So I did that where it's like weightlessness. Oh, no description. Weightlessness.
And you have a woman in the background. She's like, "Oh, her stuff. It is so out of context."
Yeah. So kill all the hippos. So we'll just annihilate the hippos and the mosquitoes.
Dude, without a second thought, man.
Well, there you go. That's what we learned today on the Fat Overlords show, that we should eliminate hippos and mosquitoes.
And apparently, if you put a rabbit in a pen with a wolf, it won't experience fear.
This has just been the worst show ever.
And if it doesn't experience fear, is it wrong?
I'd like to put Lore in a pen with the wolf and see how he likes to, and so we'll put Lore and the rabbit and the wolf in the pen.
Dude, I will sacrifice that rabbit. I will use the rabbit as a weapon. Bigger than hell, I will pick it up and throw it at the wolf.
Wow.
That's self-preservation. Don't tell me you wouldn't throw a rabbit at a wolf to save yourself.
Throw the rabbit at the wolf.
As a weapon to save yourself.
That's not a weapon. That's like throwing someone, hey, you want a biscuit? That's
if you could save yourself by throwing a rabbit at a wolf, would you do it?
So, if you throw the rabbit, okay, so if the rabbit dies, a random person will be shot.
Okay. I don't understand.
Will you still throw the rabbit at the wolf?
It's not me, I'm assuming, right?
A random person.
But does it save me from the wolf?
Yes, you will. It would save you from the wolf, but someone else will be shot.
So there are 7.8 billion people. So I got a 1 in 7.8 billion chance of being the one to get shot, and I'm saved from the wolf. So yes, I would throw Fluffy like I got nothing better to do at it. I would wind up and I would throw Fluffy.
Okay.
I would even yell, "Save me, Fluffy, save me," before I did it.
There you go.
I wouldn't even feel bad about it. I mean, I gotta save. What's wrong with self-defense? It's a rabbit. Nobody likes rabbits.
Nobody likes rabbits. I hope Cinnabon's not here.
Why is he? Do they have a rabbit?
His channel's called Cinnabon Bunny.
Okay.
He's a rabbit enthusiast.
Then he knows that the main thing a rabbit ever wants to do is sacrifice itself to save him.
April says 100% I would be the one to get shot. Well, yeah, you're dead now because Laura's just like chucking that rabbit. So sorry, April. I guess I'm never going to get to meet you.
Pop its head off like it's a grenade and just throw that sucker.
Wow. You're going to kill it for the wolf?
Well, I don't think it wants to die being eaten alive. I'm doing it a favor.
The wolf is just going to go, oh, well, I didn't want a dead rabbit, so I guess I'm going to go after that big juicy human now.
Well, then I guess it's going to be eaten alive. Then I wanted to help it out, but you know.
Well, no, you already ripped its head off, so now it's coming after you.
Then we'll just use a different rabbit. I have nothing but rabbits.
No, you only had the one rabbit. Now the wolf is coming after you.
I'm saying who wouldn't?
And the person's getting shot because you murdered the rabbit.
Who wouldn't break the neck of a rabbit and throw it at a wolf to save themselves?
You know what? Nobody said you had to break the neck of the rabbit. That was just you being cruel.
No, it's not being cruel. It's actually helping it out. Which is better? Quickly having your neck broken or being eaten alive?
Well, it depends on maybe the rabbit's into that kind of thing.
It likes it.
You know.
So I'm
you know, he could be one of those weirdos that likes that's into that. So now the rabbit doesn't get to go out the way it wanted to.
So I've taken something from the rabbit. I might feel bad about that if it wanted to be eaten.
Yeah, but you know, now someone else gets shot because you killed the rabbit, and the wolf doesn't want a dead rabbit, and so the wolf's coming after you.
Well, hopefully I'm the one that gets shot before the wolf gets me.
Nope.
Nope.
April already said she was the one getting shot. So
it's a kinky rabbit. Wait, he might be onto something. If the rabbit is dead before you throw it at the wolf, does the person still get... Oh, yeah. The person still gets shot. That's what they're saying.
Because the person getting shot is linked to the rabbit dying, not the wolf eating it.
Right.
So Lore just committed a double murder there.
I did not commit. I am not the one that shot him. That is not on me.
No, you absolutely did because
I did not pull the trigger. I did not make that person do it.
See, what you didn't realize was the gun was in the rabbit.
So
when you broke the neck and fired the bullet out of the rabbit, and that's why April got shot, because she was standing there watching, hoping that you would survive. So the last thing that she gets to see is you getting mauled by the wolf and thinking what an idiot you were.
Well, if I shot her, it would seem like she'd probably be happy with that. She's like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. And so April gets and you probably shot her in the leg or something, so she gets to die slowly watching you getting mauled to death by the wolf.
To be fair, who's to say that I don't want to be eaten, though? Maybe that's why I did it, because I'm the kinky one.
Well, that's probably true. There you go. So that's what we really learned today. Lore Reloaded wants to get eaten by a wolf. Because that makes sense.
After killing a rabbit.
Yes. But only after... Yes, the old gun and a rabbit trick.
Gets them every time.
Why not, man? This has gotten weird.
The only one coming out of this happy is the wolf. That's true.
This is like the weirdest ending to a live stream ever. I'm trying to imagine, man, if there was just some way I could convince Joshua to animate that whole story of you in like the octagon with the rabbit breaking its neck and it has a gun inside of it shooting April, and then the wolf coming in. Yeah, what a great animation. Unfortunately.
Dude, if you want to end really weird, did you watch the complete video?
Yeah, what the heck was with the ending of your video?
Did you see that? That's you could end it playing that forever.
That was like the weirdest ending, because I thought that an ad was popped up and I was like getting ready to close it, and then I realized this isn't even an ad. What the heck is this crap?
Yeah, Runner was late getting home, so he didn't answer me or whatever, and so I made a joke about it, and that's what he said, and I got someone to clip it for me because I don't know how to do Twitch. It was on Twitch.
Okay. So, yeah. So make sure if you watch Lore's video that he dropped today, watch the end of the video. You'll think it's an ad popping up. It's not an ad popping up, and it's
about true love. Well, no, it's not. It's about someone using someone else for sexual gratification. So it's very TNG.